All of us reach a point in time where we are depleted and need to somehow find a way to reignite the fire within. But how do we spark that flame? Welcome to Reignite Resilience, where we will venture into the heart of the human spirit. We'll discuss the art of reigniting our passion and strategies to stoke our enthusiasm. And now, here are your hosts, Natalie Davis and Pamela Cass.
Welcome back to another episode of Reignite Resilience. I'm your co-host, Natalie Davis, and I'm so excited to be back with everyone. And joining me is your co-host, Pam Cass. Hello, Pam. How are you?
Hello. I am fantastic. It is Monday of a holiday week, so we kind of have a short week this week, which I am looking forward to.
It is. It's interesting. You know, it's just this time of year. 'Tis the season. I feel like every week for the rest of the year is going to be a short one, so we're just going to make the best of it.
We are. And let me tell you, I don't know about you, but I packed in a week's worth of stuff into just today.
100%. Yes. I had that conversation with someone earlier today. They said, well, you know, it's a short week, but why do we feel that we need to jam pack everything into Monday? And I did.
That's just how we roll.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
What fun is it if we don't do that?
Exactly.
Oh, my goodness. But we have a special guest that's joining us today. Yes. So I am going to turn it over to you to tell our listeners who's joining us.
Yes, I am super excited about this. So today we have Teri Brown. She has multiple novels. So novels including Sunflowers Beneath the Snow, a historical fiction set in Ukraine, An Enemy Like Me set in World War II, and Daughters of Green Mountain Gap, a generational story about Appalachian healers. 10 little rules for a double-butted adventure in an inspirational look at the life lessons she learned riding across the United States on a tandem bicycle. Her latest book, Little Lola and Her Big Dream, is a children's picture book helping children realize that it's okay to have big dreams. Welcome. We are so honored for you to get to spend some time with us. And I just want to know, how did you get into writing novels and then this kind of novels where you're intertwining history and just, I'm so excited for this.
Well, good. And I just want to say thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to be here with you. Becoming an author is something that I said I wanted to be as a little girl, but I also said that I wanted to be an Olympic ice skater and I wanted to be a brain surgeon. And I am very klutzy, and being a skater was never going to happen. And I also am afraid of blood. I can't stand the sight of it. And so there's no way I'm ever going to be a surgeon. So I don't think I really knew what I meant when I said I wanted to be an author, but I loved books. And I think I knew it was the only thing I knew that you could do with a book was be an author. So I think I just always knew that I loved books. But then life happened, right? And, you know, I get ready to go to college. Do you think my parents are going to pay for me to get a creative writing degree? No, they are not. You know, and so that didn't happen. I got a couple of degrees that unfortunately for my parents, I did not use, but that's okay. I got my degrees and then I got married. I had 4 beautiful children. Becoming an author while trying to raise 4 beautiful children doesn't happen. I got divorced. I got remarried. He was a horrible person. And so it was an emotionally abusive relationship that I lived in for 14 years because I did not want to be divorced twice. I got out of that relationship and that's when I started writing. So I started writing in 2017. I just had words, lots of words. And so out they came on the page. But I wasn't telling anybody I was an author. I was still a very damaged individual who had spent 14 years in this horrible relationship. I met Bruce, who became my 3rd husband. Yes, 3 guys. I've been married 3 times. And he always wanted to ride across the United States on a bicycle. I had been looking to do something big and bold because I wanted to prove to the world that I still had value, right? Turns out that the world didn't think I didn't have value. That was just me, but I didn't know that at the time. And so when he brought that up, I thought, well, that's an adventure. That's big and bold, especially for someone like me, because I'm not athletic and I had not been on a bicycle in 40 years. So I said to him, is this something you're going to talk about until the day you die, or are you going to do it?
Okay.
He said, no, I really want to do it. I said, count me in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so we spent about a year and a half kind of training, prepping, finding the right gear and equipment for me. I mean, like I said, I hadn't been on a bicycle in forever. Then we were all ready to go. COVID hit. And so we thought, well, we're not going to be able to go. But we both felt so sad about that we decided that if we could start by the middle of July, that we would still be able to make it across the United States before the weather turned cold.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up leaving at the end of June. And we rode 3,102 miles on a tandem bicycle. And at the end of that trip, the very last day, as we're coming into Washington, D.C., which is where we ended, I thought, I just rode across the United States on a tandem bicycle. I can do anything. It's not a matter of, can I do something, but what do I want to do? And so I asked myself that question, what do you want to do? And it was, I want to be an author. And 14 months later, my first novel came out.
Wow. Can we go back to when you were a little girl? Because not many kids say, I want to be an author. I loved books. I didn't say that. So was there like a particular book that you read that you were like, this is what I want to do? Was there any one that inspired you?
I don't know that as a child there was any one. I was the kid that if I had a book in my hand, I read it and I read it and I read it and I read it and I read it. There was one, it was like Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle's Farm. And it was about these Mrs. Piggle-Wiggle, like fixed naughty children. So they would come to her as like someone who didn't eat all their food. And she had methods that she used. And they were, each chapter was like a different child that came to her farm. I have no idea. I've looked for it since. I can't find it anywhere. But I read that book over and over and over. I read every Trixie Belden mystery. I read every Nancy Drew mystery. I read all the Hardy Boys because I was told not to because they were boy books. And so I read them anyway. So I don't really think there was one. I just always loved books. My mother found me at 4 years old under the covers with a flashlight. And I had apparently taught myself to read. I don't recall this, but I had taught myself to read. And when Mom found me, I started to cry, not because I had been caught with the flashlight, which is why she was angry, but because I had been caught reading, because I was told that you learned to read in the first grade. I wasn't in the first grade, and I thought I was going to be in trouble for having done it before first grade.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
So I think I just always loved books. And then my mother gave me a box not long ago of stuff, cards that I made as a kid and all this stuff. There are story after story. They're terrible, but there are these little stories that, with pictures drawn, and I would make the construction paper cover and the whole 9 yards and make books. So.
Okay, so it was just always planted in you.
Yeah. And I thought all kids did that.
No.
No.
Nope.
Well, you've had 4. You know it. They don't.
Yes, no. But I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't understand other kids weren't doing that. I thought all kids did that. But
yeah. It was funny because with my 3 kids, my middle daughter, she was like, I would find her reading in the bathtub, and the bathtub water would be cold. And then my son, I couldn't get him to read a book unless I bribed him. And even then he didn't care. So they're just totally different.
Let's take a quick break.
Hey there, Reignite Resilience listeners. I've got some exciting news that I cannot wait to share with you. We have just launched our brand new weekly Think Letter, and it is packed with powerful insights to fuel your journey towards unshakable resilience. Now, picture this. Each week, you'll receive a daily dose of inspiration, practical strategies, and thought-provoking ideas directly in your inbox. It's like having a personal resilience coach right at your fingertips. And we've designed this Think Letter to be your go-to resource for cutting-edge research, real-life stories, and actionable tips that you can apply. So head on over to reigniteresilience.com and sign up for the Think Letter today. Now, let's dive back into today's episode.
My mother would come into my bedroom and say, go outside and play. And so she would leave my room and I would open up my window and push my book out onto the ledge and go outside, grab my book off the ledge, climb up a tree and read my book in the tree. And then she'd leave me alone. I was outside. That's what she wanted, right?
Yeah.
It isn't really what she meant, but that's,
But gosh, in a book, you can go anywhere.
Well, and I did. And I went so many places and I become characters. And as an author, I'm a very character driven author. It's about the journey of the character. I want them to have started one place and I want them to end somewhere else. And I don't mean physically, very emotionally. I want to see them grow. And I loved that even as a kid, watching these characters change. In Mrs. Pigglewiggle's farm, the little kid didn't eat and he became an eater. The little kid was messy. He became non-messy, whatever it was. And I've always loved to watch characters change.
What was your first book that you have ever written, even one maybe that wasn't published, that you would love to share with us, kind of what the inspiration was behind it?
Yeah, so I'll share the first one that actually made it. I wrote several that they're just bad. They're not any good. But it's okay, because how do you learn to become a writer without putting words on a page and then looking at them and saying, that's not very good. What should I do about that? But my first book is Sunflowers Beneath the Snow. And it is about 3 generations of Ukrainian women. And I have a Ukrainian friend. She's actually my daughter's friend, who came here in 2014 for summer camp. She was a counselor. And before she could go back home, Russia had invaded right in her hometown, and she was unable to go home. So in 2016, it was now in the United States with whatever those emergency visas are or whatever, because she couldn't go back home. And so she was here and she came to visit in 2016. Now I'm still in the bad relationship, so I don't feel like a writer, and there's no way that I'm going to do anything with this information. But she told me this incredible story of something that happened to her in New York. And I thought, there's no way. We must be having a communication issue here. And so I started asking her very pointed questions. You mean this? You mean this? You mean this? And she kept nodding. And when she was done, I thought, that needs to be a book. Like, that needs to be a movie. Now, I didn't think I was the person to do it, but that kind of stuck with me. And then when I was done on that ride, I knew what I was going to write. It was like, that's the story that I need to write, because so I wrote 82,000 words of fiction to tell 3 pages of truth. The last 3 pages of the last chapter actually happened, and everything else is just my imagination as to how that could have ever come out, how that it could have ever happened.
Wow.
Wow. That is so cool.
I love that. And so that would have been 2017 when the words started to flow?
So in 2017 is when the words started to flow. I wrote that book in 20 and 21, early 21.
Okay.
So I have several manuscripts between 17 and 21 that are various stages of yuck.
Yeah, okay.
Where I just had to learn. Like my very first manuscript, maybe there could be a story in it. I'd have to start from scratch though. There's no editing it. It's not good enough, but my characters were perfect. They were perfect. And they were totally unbelievable and unlikable because they were perfect. They reminded me of those Baywatch women, you know?
Oh, yeah.
The kind that would they'd dive into the water and they'd come up and they were just perfect.
Perfect.
Yes.
And I needed a character that was more like me. The go running into the ocean, trip, fall in, come up with a mouthful of sand, seaweed hanging off of one ear, and my hair all tangled in front of my face. Yeah. And I needed a character like that, but I didn't know that at the time. And it was also my first one right after getting out of that bad relationship. And I think maybe I made her perfect because I felt I needed to be perfect. Or that I needed, I don't know, like somehow maybe I was trying to channel what I thought I needed to be in order to like get through this next period or whatever. I don't know. I tried to go back and look at it. And like I said, the storyline is kind of cool, but the characters are they're just not.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Well, Teri, you talk about your ability to really like dive into the character development. Talk to us about that process, because I think for the non-authors in the world, or even just if you're a screenplay writer or what have you, whenever you're putting the characters in the piece, there is a depth of character development that needs to take place. Where do you go? What does that look like? Where are you pulling this from? Talk to us about that character development, because it sounds like it plays an important role in your books.
It does. I think a lot of people make the assumption that, someone from 1890s is significantly different from someone from 2025. And the truth is that humans haven't changed that much between 1890 and now. We've changed technology. We've changed how we dress. We've changed how we can get from place to place. But in terms of how does a mother feel if she loses a child? In terms of what is it like to be hungry? In terms of what is it like when a mother and daughter don't get along? Those really haven't changed. Those feelings are the same. And so I just kind of dive into my own life and say, I know this. What would it be like if? For instance, in Sunflowers Beneath the Snow, there's a scene where the woman is very hungry. She lives in Ukraine. It's during the Soviet era food lines, and you had to have tickets, and often you'd get to the front of the line and there was no food left, and the whole thing. And she had been quite some time without food and was very desperate in how she was trying to survive. I've never been that hungry, but I've been hungry. And so then I just played what would it be like if I was hungry for 2 days? Okay, what would that be like 5 days? What would it be like at 10 days? What would I be willing to do to survive? What would that look like? And I just go with what I do know. And then I just start asking those questions like, what would it be like? What would it be like? Sometimes I do a little bit of research and talk to people maybe who have had experiences like that, just to kind of get a feel. But when it comes to the emotional aspect of it, I'm 62. I've got a lot of emotions that I have experienced in life, and I pull from those, and it's like, what would that be like? What would I be willing to do to survive?
What made you decide to do that transition to children's books? Because that's quite a difference from screen World War II children's books.
So it's because I have a granddaughter. I actually have several grandchildren, but my granddaughter, about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, said to me, Gigi, when are you going to write a book for me?
Oh, well, there it is.
That'll do it every time.
I pretty much said now. Now is when I will do that. And I had an idea right across the United States on the back of a tandem. You have a lot of time to think.
Yes.
You're pedaling. And there was a lot of thinking time. And we were right along Highway 2 for most all the way across from Montana until we got to Michigan. And there's a train line that runs. And we would see it every day, trains every day. And we would often see the same engineers, and they would wave to us because it was like, oh, there's those crazy people out on that tandem, and they are now 80 miles further this way. Well, I had this idea about a train who didn't know what kind of train she wanted to be. When I decided to write this story for Emma, it was like, okay, so what will she say she wants to be? She says she wants to be an astronaut train, and all of her friends tease her and tell her there's no such thing. And so she kind of goes on this little quest to find out, well, what could I be? And then in the end, she keeps her dream. And I like the idea of keeping the dream. Well, what's crazy, just crazy, is as soon as I get this book written, and I have a friend who was doing the illustrations for me, and the illustrations are about 2/3 done. Someone sent me an article knowing that I had written this book. And it was a NASA article where they're planning to put a train on the moon to take supplies from the light side of the moon to the dark side of the moon because they want to put a space station on the moon.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my gosh, there's such a thing now as an astronaut train.
There you go.
And so in my note, my author note at the very back, I tell the kids when I started the book, there was no such thing. And now there is. And this is why we should keep our dreams.
I
So
love it.
Oh, that's so amazing.
It's fun.
Will you turn that into another book in the series, or is this one a one and done?
I thought it was a one and done.
Okay.
I really did. However, I also wrote 10 Little Rules for a Double-Butted Adventure.
Okay.
And in 10 Little Rules for Double-Butted Adventure, one of the rules is keep dreaming. And I didn't even put the two together until later when I realized, oh my gosh, that's like one of my rules. And so I've kind of played with doing a series of 10 children's books, one for each rule, and aiming it more at kids. Would it be all Lola the Train? Would it be different? I don't know. I haven't really gone much beyond that. But yes, so there might be more children's books in me. Who knows?
Oh my gosh. You're just cranking them out now.
I know.
I do. In fact, I actually just had a meeting with my editor today. I have another manuscript out to her, and it looks like it won't take a lot of work for it to be ready. And so I hope to have it come out in the spring. And do I have a name for it? No, I do not. I think it might be called Peg Unhinged.
Oh.
It's a women's fiction, and it's humorous, and it's about a woman going through menopause.
Oh, perfect. I'll pick
That's
that up.
lovely.
So I think Peg Unhinged is something I'm thinking of. However, it's a beach. She's at the beach. And I've also considered something like Peg Overboard or Peg Unmoored or something. Like I'm unhinged. I love the word.
Yeah.
However, maybe if I do something that is beachy, I haven't made a decision yet.
It'll come to you.
You'll
You'll be doing something and it'll just like the inspiration will spark.
Just a quick download on it.
That's it.
I love that. I love that. Do you have a preference in terms of what you write?
No, it's funny. I have a character that will land in my head, and then I just need to write what it is that they tell me to write. It sounds crazy, but I don't really feel like I'm writing. I feel like I'm taking dictation. I have these characters that just, they come alive in my head. In fact, the hardest thing for me is to give enough information to my readers. My editor, in fact, did it this time too, was, look, we need a little more about her. Mm-hmm. And it's like, what do you mean? You
can't you see it?
Yes, because she's living in my head. And then it's like, I have to keep remembering not everyone is in my head with me.
Yeah. So for somebody that is wanting to write a book or is, as a little kid was like, I want to be an author and just hasn't taken that step. What are kind of your routines that you do because you're writing a lot of books and I know you get the download, but are there specific places you write or specific things that you do to kind of get in that space?
Unfortunately, I am the worst person to ask that question.
Okay.
No, because I am in my real life, when I'm not being an author, when I'm just doing life, I have a list for everything. I have lists everywhere. And I like printed lists that I can scratch out. And I like to add things to my list that I've already done so that I can scratch it out, the whole thing. And I'm very, very attached to those lists and they keep me so even. But when I'm writing, that doesn't work. It won't work for me. And so I'm very much what's called a pantser, which means I just kind of like sit down and start writing. I also am a binge writer. So I might sit down and write for 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 hours and then not write anything for a week. Because it's perking in my mind. I'm thinking, I'm trying out scenarios, and all of a sudden it'll be like, oh,
there it is.
And then I sit down and then I just write. So I would love to say that I've got this beautiful routine that other people can follow. I don't even really recommend my routine, but it works for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Do you ever bring your ideas to a storyboard and lay it out, or does
I've tried plotting using 3 different methods that people have suggested to me. And I swear to you, my characters line up against the wall, cross their arms, and just say, you let us know when you're done with that stupid experiment and we'll get back to writing. You know?
They're like, we're not playing this game. We don't want to do it.
Right. And so like I can give you an example. In this book that I just finished, I kind of got into this space where I felt like I needed to write a certain number of words every day. Like I have to get this done. So I did. I sat down and I was doing it. I was getting those words out there. And then I had to stop for something. My husband was ill. And so I needed to take a little bit of a break. And then in order to get back to it, I started reading, let's read what I've written. I hated all of it. It was so bad. I had lost her voice. It wasn't funny anymore. It was just words. I had the words, but what good did they do? And so I had like 25,000 words. It was now up to like 60,000 words. And I backed it back to that 25,000 words and threw all that away.
All the stuff away.
And had to start again. Yeah.
Are there specific spaces or time of day that those creative downloads come to you, or is it just kind of just very random?
It's random in terms of time, but it usually happens after I live near the beach. And so if I go take a walk on the beach, I often, the first half of my walk, I tell people that I storm. I'm just walking really fast and my thoughts are just, scrambled, and it's more about things I need to do and places I need to go and people I'm angry with and, all the things, right, that you're doing. And by the end of the walk, I'm walking more slowly and I feel like I'm in tune with the waves. I'm almost kind of like coming and going with the way the waves go, and ideas start popping into my head. So I just kind of need to clear out life. And if I can clear out life, it can happen first thing in the morning when I watch the sun come up, or it can happen at 2 p.m. It just depends on what have I done to kind of clear out the clutter.
And I think that's a huge one is, we've got so much clutter, we're so busy all the time and this is why Natalie and I, when we do our Think Weeks in Mexico, it's just that being in a different space, getting away from all of the technology and everything to just completely, that's where, we come up with some of the craziest, amazing ideas when we're there because we can just.
Well, and one of the best places for me to write is not here in my office.
Yeah.
So I love to go to a writer's retreat, someplace where they give you a space and time, and they don't require me to take any classes or to do anything other than be there. And when I'm there, I can write amazing amounts, and I will, because my brain is in this space of, we're here to create.
Yes. Yeah.
And then I can do it. And then I come home and I think I'm going to keep doing it once I get home. And it's like, well, then there's laundry.
Yep.
It's grocery store.
Yeah,
and
grocery
now you need
store.
a snack.
And someone calls and wants to know if you could help do this, or if you wanted to, and I keep putting my writing on the calendar, but it's the first thing that I cross out when life gets too busy. It's like, oh, I've got these other things that have got to go on. But when I'm on a retreat,
you can do it.
Nothing else is on my calendar. If I look at my calendar, it says Teri, write.
Yeah.
And so awesome. I don't know, it's like it gives me permission to just do that. So I do a lot of editing in my office, but I tend to write away from my office. Even if I just go to a coffee shop, someplace that's not here, where I don't hear the laundry bell ring that lets me know that I need to put things in the dryer, where I'll have my phone turned off and so people aren't calling me, where I'm not sitting here and thinking, oh, I didn't get the ground beef out for dinner tonight, and so I'm up and going, that kind of thing.
I think what you just said is such an important thing, is we put things on our calendar that we love to do, and then we just skip over them because something else comes up. And so that intentionality of getting out of that space and getting somewhere that allows you to do it, I think putting yourself first and what it is that you love.
I think you have to give yourself permission to go ahead and do the thing. And somehow when you're being creative, there's this tendency to say that isn't as valuable as, I don't know, cleaning the toilet or whatever it is that is also on your list, when it is actually more valuable. But it's hard to explain that to people. So if someone comes to your house and your house is filthy, but you spent all day long writing, it's hard to explain to them, hey, I spent all day writing. But if your house is clean, nobody asks.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think there's just this tendency, maybe, I don't know if it's everyone or if it's just women. I sometimes think it's more of a woman problem where we feel like we've got to do all these other things. And when we get all of that done, then we can take care of ourselves.
Then we can focus on us 100%. Yeah.
You know, and I had 4 kids and I spent a good portion of my life taking care of 4 children. There wasn't any time for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and now I have time for me. And yet I'm still not taking it because, you know, there's the guilt that's associated with doing your thing.
Yeah, we think it's selfish. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. I love it.
Thank you for joining us today on the Reignite Resilience podcast. We hope you had some aha moments and learned a few new real-life ideas to fuel the flames of passion. Please subscribe on your favorite streaming platform, like or download your favorite episodes, and of course, share with your friends and family. We look forward to seeing you again next time on Reignite Resilience.